So just before I hand it over to Arev and to Carlos, I just wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. And I don't know, everyone has different time zones. So I know some of you are in Germany, some of you are in South Africa, Armenia, Toronto, Vancouver. We're just really excited that you're all here. And we hope that this workshop slash presentation gives you a little something to make you more excited about running design sprints or get your team members to participate in the design sprint. What we have here today, who we have here today is Arev and Carlos. They're both from AdaptiveX and they'll introduce themselves, but I just wanted to say a really quick welcome and hand it over to our facilitators for today.
Thanks, Kim. Welcome, everyone. Thanks again for showing up and for participating. We're kind of testing out a new time slot here during the day to see if we can get some different participation and different participants. And as you can see, we've got lots of people from all over the globe, which is really exciting. Definitely we'll share more topics. We got some great topics coming over the summer in terms of different speakers that are going to be joining us. So definitely stay tuned for that lineup. We're pretty excited about that. Yeah, so just really quickly, I'm Carlos. I work with Kim and Arev, and we do a lot of facilitation, a lot of training, specifically on innovation and design thinking, but also on agile development as well. So pretty excited to just share our experience. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Arev.
Thank you, Carlos. Hi again, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Arev. I joined AdaptiveX recently. Is it a month already or something like that? Yeah, I'm super excited to be in this team. Used to be an agile coach, but once I got introduced to the design sprints, design thinking, I guess my path took me more towards this innovation and innovation facilitation and doing design sprints and anything that is related to design thinking and human side of things. And I'm super excited to be here today, and we'll be glad to share anything that we can related to design sprints in terms of the energizers and icebreakers. That's it from me. Kim, are we going through the agenda first, or I should start with the check-in?
Yeah, so I just dropped the Mural link over here, and once you've joined, I'll give you a couple of minutes or maybe a minute to just let you join the Mural, and then I'll get you to follow me and summon everybody over to the agenda. It's really simple. It's a very interactive session today because it is an energizer and an icebreaker workshop. So we'll keep you on your toes and maybe you'll keep us on our toes. We'll do the welcome, of course. Carlos will go over what a design sprint is for those of you who are new to the process. And then we'll go through the workshop with Arev. She'll explain what the difference is between an icebreaker, an energizer, and a warm-up. And then we'll go through the design sprint energy map again with Carlos, and we'll wrap it all up with a retro and a Q&A if we have time, because we're testing a new time slot. It's 12 to 1, so it's an hour of interactive workshop. So I'll hand it over again to Arev.
Thanks, Kim. All right. I'm gonna actually ask you guys to follow me. Just give me one sec. Here we go. So today we're gonna start with the really quick check-in, and then we will go through the introduction of, as Kim mentioned, icebreakers, warm-ups, and energizers. But before we do that, I really want to do a quick check-in with you guys as an icebreaker. So what we're going to do today, we're going to answer one question, which is, if you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be? We're going to take a minute to fill out the stickies, and then we're going to send you guys into breakout rooms in pairs so that you guys can share. All right, cool. I can see people typing already. This is nice.
Is anyone having any issues connecting to Mural at all? You don't need an account. If you're new to Mural, if you click on the link, you can just enter in anonymously or as a guest. And just let us know in the chat if you're having any issues.
you can keep on writing your notes. We are gonna create the breakout rooms and put you in pairs. And once you are in the breakout room, feel free to share what is that one thing that you want to be an expert in, and probably why, if you want to share it.
It'll be a really quick breakout room, you guys. It's but I'm gonna open it now, and you can join. Hey guys, welcome back. I know that was super quick. Perhaps the next expertise is how to talk fast in breakout rooms. That would be a good one, no? In these things. But welcome back. I hope you all learned something about each other. Arev.
Hey. Nice, we have music. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, no problem, but I'm good.
All right, so I guess we can get moving on to the next one. So I'm just going to do a really quick overview in terms of what a design sprint is, and you can kind of replace that word with, let's say, innovation workshop, or perhaps a design thinking workshop, or any type of workshop. And this is where things like icebreakers, energizers, and warm-ups come into play. So hopefully everybody's in Mural. Now, perhaps just for the recording, I'll also share my screen as well. All right. So why do we do a design sprint, and what is a design sprint for a minute? So a lot of times in your organization, or perhaps an organization that you're working with, there's going to be a challenge. Maybe it's a business challenge, or there's an opportunity. So typically organizations have goals and they have challenges in meeting those goals. And a lot of times we frame up these challenges and we've got some ideas. And so you might start off with either the challenge itself, or you might start off with an idea. Sometimes you have somebody who has an idea. And then typically that idea, you'll go through a build phase, you'll go through a launch phase, and then you'll learn whether or not it's working. Perhaps it's a product or a service, or some changes to a product or service. And so you go through this typical life cycle of developing a solution, for example. And a lot of times that could take 6 months, could take 8 months, could take multiple years, for example. But it incurs a lot of risk, and it might not necessarily deliver a lot of value. And the longer that we wait, we have this kind of cost of delay that could be detrimental to the organization, to our customers, to our users. And so instead, what we want to do is say, okay, we've got an idea, or perhaps we've got this challenge and we want to get some ideas, and we'd like to learn really quickly to determine if we're on the right track or if we're not. And so kind of shortcutting this build and launch phase, essentially. And really that's kind of the power and the essence of a design sprint, is this idea of coming up with ideas, so solving big challenges or testing ideas in a very short period of time to get some evidence or some data to allow us to make better decisions, to deliver more appropriate solutions to our customers and users. One study that IDEO, so IDEO is a big design thinking firm. They do a lot of work with major brands around the world. And they found that teams that explore 5 or more different solutions, or iterate, let's say, on their solution 5 or more times, are 42% more successful to actually achieve and hit their outcomes. And so what that tells us is, if we're just trying one thing, or if we're just kind of doing that classical, build and launch it, we're less likely to achieve the intended outcome or the goal that we're actually trying to achieve. So ultimately, how does a design sprint kind of shortcut that process? Well, what it does is it takes the typical design thinking phases. And so if you've ever taken a design thinking course, for example, or have participated in a design thinking project, you'll notice it typically goes through a certain number of steps. Like typically you build some empathy, or you talk to some users or customers, for example, or stakeholders. You define what the problem is or the challenge. You ideate on that challenge. You build a prototype, and then you test that prototype. Now, the beauty of a design sprint is that it takes those 5 phases and then it compresses it into 5 days. And the reason why it's compressing it is in order to shortcut that cycle. as quickly as possible to understand if you're on the right track or if you've got to course correct, for example. So the power in design sprints really is in that learning. It's in the power of iteration, because as you start to stack them, for example, you can actually build out a really great solution, a really great product or service for your users and for your customers. Now, day one is all about visualizing the problem, kind of choosing a target, picking a persona or an individual to solve a problem for. Day two is now starting to explore multiple solutions, many different options. Day three is all about choosing an option or perhaps two in order to prototype and test. And so it uses kind of like a really interesting facilitated critiquing process that helps you to really select the best option that you'd like to move forward. Day four is all about building that prototype, so building a real facade that garners real reactions from your stakeholders. And then day five is all about now testing and getting that data, using something we call the power of five that allows us to see any kind of patterns to emerge and recognize whether or not we're on the right track. So this is the design sprint process in a nutshell. It was popularized at Google Ventures by Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky. And eventually, so they used it on startups, and eventually, many organizations now, Fortune 500, large enterprise organizations, non-for-profits use it to really help them take that design thinking process and make it a bit more tangible within their organization. So as you can see, because it is compressed and there are many different activities, then this aspect of building a team, bringing it together, and keeping their energy high throughout the process is really important and really critical. So I'm going to turn it over to Arev.
Thank you, Carlos. This is really great. And after getting this understanding of what is a design sprint in a nutshell, I'm going to invite you guys to do our next energizer this time. I think I'm not going to share my screen. Carlos, would you mind actually stop sharing yours? Because I think, yeah, we're going to look at the our nice doggy. And what does the eyeball yoga do? So why do we do this? We are in this remote setting, and now, you want it or not, we are all the time staring at our screens and different devices, and our eyes are getting tired even more than our body. And from time to time, we need to have some rest for our eyes. And this eyeball yoga can be applied to any day of the design sprint, any time that you feel like it. So what I'm going to invite you guys to do, I'm going to invite you first of all to sit straight and comfortable. Straighten your spine. Cool, thanks. We're going to close our eyes. Apply pressure, just a tiny bit of pressure with 2 fingers. And then open our eyes. So we're with the eyes open, we're going to look all the way to the right as much as you can. And then all the way to the left. Again, all the way to the right. And all the way to the left. Now, what we're going to try to do, we're going to try to trace different letters with our eyes. So let's start with an easy one. Let's try to trace letter L. So we're going to look all the way up, down, and to the right. One more time. We're going to look up, down, and all the way to the right. Now we're going to try this time to trace letter V. It's going to be an easy one. So we're going to look up to the left corner, down, and up right corner. One more time. Left corner up, down, and right upper corner. Cool. Now we're going to roll our eyes and trace letter O. Doesn't matter, you want to go clockwise or counterclockwise. So we're going to start from up, all the way to back to top. And one more time. Look up, and roll it all the way back to the top. Okay, and the last letter that we're gonna do is gonna be, let's do letter M. So we're gonna look down to the left corner, up, down, up, to the right lower corner. And one more time, left lower corner, up, down, up, and to the right lower corner. Great. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again. Apply some pressure with 2 fingers. And slowly open it up. You can quickly blink a few times if you feel uncomfortable. Okay. And one tiny thing, a hint that I want to share with you, when you're doing this with your team and you want to make it a little bit more fun and challenging, you can ask people to trace down their names. It can be pretty easy for some people, but pretty hard for others. And this is for our eyeball yoga. Thank you. All right, now let's move forward to our icebreakers and energizers. I'm gonna ask you guys to follow me on the mural. And I'm also gonna share my screen. Oops. Oh, Kim, can I? Why? Okay, cool. Great. I hope you guys can see this. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger.
Just a reminder to follow Arev, you just click on her icon in Mural down at the bottom. If you're in Mural and you wish to follow her.
Let me summon you guys. All good? Can everyone see what is an icebreaker? If not, let us know. All right. Okay. So what is actually an icebreaker? So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover what is an icebreaker, why do we use it, and actually when do we use it. So what is an icebreaker? Icebreaker is an activity that helps us to break down the ice and introduce people to each other by sharing some personal information. This helps a lot when people haven't known each other or maybe know each other just a little bit, and they are getting prepared to do activities together. Let's go to the next one. There we go. So why do we use icebreakers? First of all, and I guess the most important one is we are trying to build connection. Context is important, but building that connection is critical. So icebreakers are focusing on building the connection between people. We do share the purpose, and our icebreakers help people understand and get on the common ground. As well as we are extending an invitation when we are introducing an icebreaker. It is nice to have as many people as possible, but if people want to be that butterfly, they can just be an observer, and that's beautiful as well. So this is just an invitation for people to get involved with an icebreaker, with the activity. When do we use an icebreaker? The best practice or the recommended one is we use it at the beginning of the day when we need to introduce people to each other, or maybe at the start of an event or a meeting, so that people can get to know each other a little bit more. Now we're going to move to our energizers. What is an energizer? The energizers are the short, fun activities that boost up our energy level. And this usually includes physical movement as much as it is possible in the remote setting. Why do we use energizers? Because this helps us, again, with boosting our energy level up, and it brings motivation. If people don't have motivation to move forward, energizers can help you out a lot. This is another way of inviting people to a specific activity. So again, if people prefer to be an observer, that's okay too. When do we use energizers? Usually after lunch, when the blood circulation is really bad around our brain and we feel really, really sleepy, or at the end of the day or a session when we really want to bring people's mood up before they actually leave, or whenever there is a decrease in motivation, because as long as people are engaged and focused, they are draining energy, and it can also decrease their motivation over the time. So energizers are a really good way of boosting up that energy. Warm-ups. So in comparison to our icebreakers, which is actually geared towards introducing people to each other, this one is preparing more people mentally to the upcoming activity, which is more activity oriented. This is a little teaser to an upcoming activity. And why do we use warm-ups? The warm-ups are actually a good way of setting the stage and introducing people to what's going to happen next. That way, they actually help people feel more comfortable with the upcoming event. And they also promote the creative thinking. So when do we use the warm-ups? Again, we are using it before an actual exercise, so to give this little taste of an activity that is upcoming, or when we need to make people more familiar with the tools or resources that they are going to use there. This is for our icebreakers and energizers and the warm-up. And that said, what we're going to do next, we're going to jump right into our warm-up activity. Ooh, this one looks small. Okay, so we're going to try out the GIF tournament. What this means, and I'm going to make this part a bit bigger first. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to ask you guys to find a GIF that will show the lockdown from your perspective. So in one GIF, try to describe a lockdown. And you can feel free to click on the GIF and choose one from the website. So we're going to have, Kim, should we have 1 minute for this or 2?
We can have 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes. Feel free to.
And Arev, if they were to use this in a design sprint, where do you think this would go?
Oh, this is, that's great. That's a great question, Kim. Thanks. So with the GIF tournament, we are actually bringing a lot of, we see a lot of relation to the lightning demos. So when we're doing research on day 2 for lightning demos, this is a good warm-up activity as the lightning demos to do the research and bring it up. So what you guys are going to do, we're going to copy over to this area under the GIF tournament.
Okay. So one photo that describes what the lockdown is like from our perspective.
I think our time is up. Okay, this is gonna be fun. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna take those little green dots, one per person, I guess, and then put them on the one that, I don't know, you like the most. Let's just vote for it. Yep, feel free to take a green dot and place it on your favorite one. Oh, I forgot to set a timer for voting. I was so into the GIFs. Is it the episode from Jumanji? The one that is taking the most votes?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, when watching that movie, I never thought that we are gonna do like that too one day. I'm gonna be careful with movies now. Okay, cool. Our time is up. Thanks a lot, everyone, for participating. This is really nice. Yeah, this is a lot of different perspectives of how we see the lockdown. Okay, so we're gonna move forward. Guess I'm gonna ask you guys to follow me, but I'm gonna turn it over to Carlos.
Thanks, Arev. Yeah, I'm jealous of people that are good at getting their own haircut or giving themselves their own haircut, because I still have my like hockey hair happening in the back, and I'm waiting for the barbers to open up another, I think, week or two here in Toronto before they're officially open. Although I hear there's some underground barber shops, I just haven't found any. But yeah, that movie resonated with me, Jumanji. So we've tried, let's say, the icebreaker, and then we also tried a warm up there. And as the Rev mentioned, the warm up can be a helpful tool, especially because some of the activities that you're running in your workshop, if you're running them cold, some people might feel a little uncomfortable. For example, if you're saying, okay, we're going to do some sketching, and they're thinking, well, I don't really draw, this is kind of weird. And maybe you're in a corporate environment, maybe it's a bit more conservative, for example, maybe this is very new way of working for a lot of people. But they're very powerful techniques in the sense that it draws out the creativity, it draws out, pushes beyond their initial idea, for example, so you don't get the same old ideas that tend to kind of recycle themselves inside companies. So we know that a lot of these design thinking activities that are involved in the design sprint are powerful, but we want people to feel somewhat ready or comfortable in going through them. And so warm-ups can help us get there, and they can be quick. So you can run them for a minute or 2 minutes, for example, like the last one. Before, it's kind of like the appetizer before the main course, for example. Now, what you're looking at here is a blog post that was written by Alan Colville, and he actually did a little bit of a study. So every time he ran a design sprint, as you can see, there's a series of different activities in the sprint. So on day one, there's 4 or 5 activities. On day 2, there's 4 or 5 activities. On day 3, another 4 or 5 activities. So you can see kind of the trend that's happening. There's a lot of different activities. Now, inherently within the sprint, all these activities are cumulative, so they actually build on top of each other, and they're kind of like a series of warm-ups as is. But what he did was he took kind of a temperature check from people after each activity, and he asked them a simple question on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling right now? So is this a high point? Is it a low point for you, for example? And then he would, over a series of sprints, he would aggregate some of that data, and then he came up with this chart. And what he found was a lot of times people go through, it's kind of like this roller coaster ride. So they go through these high points and they go through these low points throughout the sprint. And you can see some of the low points here. So for example, on day 2, as people are starting to sketch out their ideas, they're starting to reach a bit of a low point, so that there's some anxiety around, okay, are people going to like my idea? Perhaps they fall in love with their idea, so they really like their idea, and maybe now it's a little bit more difficult to be open to other people's ideas. And the same thing through the decision-making process. So maybe they don't necessarily agree with the decider in terms of how we're going to be moving forward. And so there's a little bit of anxiety throughout these moments. And people might feel tired, for example, as well, because they've gone through so many different activities. So it's important to understand and to kind of pick up the energy within the room, because you're more likely, obviously, to have a much better experience if you can kind of inject these moments of, okay, let's bring the energy up, or perhaps let's reduce some of that anxiety and introduce a really quick warm-up activity, for example. And then the other thing, of course, too, is because this is team collaboration, these are team-based environments, team-based problem solving, then those icebreakers are quite helpful as well, because the earlier we can get through, kind of naturally they're going to go through a bit of storming as they work on this particular project, or as they work on this intense kind of time compressed problem solving, and so the more that we can get them to quickly shortcut that storming stage, the better that is as well. So kind of looking at this and then saying, okay, where perhaps would we inject an icebreaker? Where would we inject a warm up? Where would we inject an energizer, for example? And so as you facilitate to kind of think through that, and where would you place some of these things? Any thoughts? Arev, Kim, anything?
Thank you, Carlos. We're going to actually show the energizers and icebreakers on the roller coaster so that people can see what our suggestion is to use for every single day of the design sprint. And let's see what people think about it. I'm not going to change the screen sharing. I'm just going to move to the roller coaster and summon you guys here. Here we go. Just a quick intro to what you see here. So we do have the 5 days of the design sprint, and we did try out just a few of an icebreaker or warm-up activity, and we're gonna do another one at the end as a closing one for our retro. But what we did, we opened our session with a quick check-in, and this is our suggestion for Monday as well. So specifically, we mentioned about the becoming an expert instantly, and what would it be? Because on day 1, we are interviewing our experts. That's why we are actually offering it there. We tried out the GIF Tournament, which, as we mentioned, is good and relates to the lightning demos, which people try out on Tuesday. Lightning demos are itself warm-up activities for the day. And we also have warm-up activity, which is Crazy 8 for sketching. It is a pretty intense one, but it really prepares a good ground for sketching, for our solution sketch. Now, what I'm gonna offer you to do here, look at the icebreakers, which are in blue, and the energizers, which are in, I don't know, is this purple or pink? Like purplish pink, and see if there are any that don't feel familiar, or you have any questions. Why do we use it there, or how do we use it? At the end of the session, once you fill out a survey, we're gonna send this out to you with instructions how to use it. But before we do that, really quickly, just take your time to look into it. And if you have any questions, you want to learn more about any specific one, let us know.
I have Jill asking, what is Build a Story and the Spiral Journal?
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So starting with the Build a Story. So what we do with a Build a Story is that if you're the facilitator or the host, you can start it as writing down one sentence as opening of a story, and then asking your participants to add one sentence each that will continue building up the story. And why do we use this for the day 3? Because this is all about the story mapping. This is all about decision making, and we want to bring that alignment to the team. As well as for the spiral journal, we are going to try that in a minute in our retrospective. I don't want to bring in the teaser, so I don't want to do a spoiler. We'll give it a try in a minute. But thanks for the question, Jill. All right. Should we move forward? If we don't have any more questions in here, yeah, let's try out our spiral journal. Yay. Okay, this is my favorite one. So for this, I'm actually gonna ask you guys to get a pen and a paper and get ready with that. Whenever you're ready, we're gonna start. So just a piece of paper and a pen or pencil or a marker. And then I'll explain what are we gonna do and why. All right, let's see, are we all good? Okay. All right, so if you guys are familiar with the liberating structures, this is commonly used there. This is a really good activity as to be done as a retrospective, as part of your retrospective, or or as probably an opening activity if you want to learn more about people, or if you want to set the mood and understand what do you have in the room. So what we're going to do today, we're going to take 1 minute before you start, just to let you know you are going to draw a tight spiral in the center of your paper for 1 minute continuously. So you don't pull off your hand, don't stop, just for 1 minute. Keep on drawing that spiral as slow as you can and as tight as you can. I'm gonna set the timer. Kim, do you think we can have some music here with this? Okay, thanks. So our time is up. Once you finish drawing your spiral, I'm gonna invite you to look at your screen again, and I'm gonna summon you guys here. So we have these 4 questions. Ideally, what you want to do, you want to look at one question at a time. Don't look at the next one, what's coming up. But I'm going to invite you to answer to these questions on these little sticky notes. So the first one is, what new information did you learn today?
And just in case, you know, if you have to run at the end of the hour or at the hour, we just want to thank everyone again for coming. And as Arev said, we will be sending out like the actual cheat sheet with instructions on how to run each icebreaker or energizer and warm up. And as you probably saw, you can, we created a little like map for everybody, but you can pick and choose what you want to run, when you want to run it, and how you want to run it, because that's what facilitation is all about. It's really up to you and how to improve the energy of the room, the motivation across the teams. So again, just a huge thank you also to Arev and to Carlos for putting together this workshop. I hope it was fun. And then I'll just turn it over back to Arev in case there's the next step for our spiral journal.
There isn't any. This is actually the end of it, but I'm really curious, when you give it a try, please feel free to share your experience as well, because that's really nice. I'm looking forward to hear from you guys and to learn about more stuff if you're experimenting with those. And thanks a lot for coming. It was a pleasure. The time flies by so fast when you're busy with this kind of nice stuff. And I really appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Yeah, so thanks again, everyone. Keep in touch. Look for our upcoming sessions. We've got a lot of great speakers lined up, and we'll definitely be looking to have you all back. So thanks again.
Thank you. Actually, Carlos, thank you so much for reminding me that. Before everybody leaves, we are having a Design Sprint Network meetup again next month. We have some mural experts coming in to help us build and design more interactive workshops. So, you know, like they've built Connect 4 and how to do that online and all those things. So we're really excited to have them there. I'm ironing out the details with them, and as soon as we know the date and the time, we'll send you guys an invite. Why not Myro though? He works at Mural, so he is the one that we got. But I'm sure we can transfer it over to Myro. We are also huge fans of both the platforms.
Yeah.
And,
I guess the cool thing is it's canvas design, right? Which can be applicable to both. So that's kind of nice.
And if you have any questions, please let me know. I do see that Susan is asking what happens with the spiral grid. Do we plot our spirals?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. We didn't do that in this case just because we had this retro form and we didn't want it to reveal the questions in the very beginning. So when you're doing it on a piece of paper, yes, you use the grid or you ask people to fold it and the paper into 4 parts. Once the spiral is done, you're introducing one question at a time. So giving a minute to write down in one quadrant and then the next one. So you cover all 4 pieces of your paper with each question. And I guess we will have that in the instructions on the one pager as well. But thanks for asking.